Hi, Algebra 1. I'm going to work through the learning survey results that you guys did from last week. And again, I really appreciate your feedback on these. And I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing how we're going to finish out the year. So here we go. The very first question you guys answered or statement you responded to was being able to work at my own pace this year with personalized learning has been beneficial for me. I grouped together the agree and strongly agree responses and the disagree and strongly disagree responses. And this is what we ended up with. 86% of you agreed or strongly agreed that being able to work at your own pace, having that flexibility, has been beneficial for you this year. The next statement you responded to was seeing which lessons I've mastered on the progress tracker on the screen in class helps keep me on track with my learning. And 82% of you agreed or strongly agreed with that. And I was happy to see that because sometimes I get a little nervous that putting the progress tracker up might make people feel bad, and that is not the intention ever. So just know that that is there just to help you see where you're at and what you need to be working on. The next statement you guys looked at was when I need it, I've been able to get individual help from Mrs. Gregerson and or Ms. Hintz more often on individual work days than on whole class days. And 84% of you agreed with that one, which makes sense because on those days we're more available to help. Even though a lot of you might need help at one time and you need to be patient or help each other, we are just generally more available on those days. Next statement was I use the calendar and unit planner to keep track of where I am with my work and what I need to do next. 71% of you agreed or strongly agreed with that. And I believe that is an area that we can look at to figure out how to better help you see where you're at and what you need to be doing. The next statement was when I miss class, I know how to find the work I need to do to catch up. 86% of you agreed with that. And I think that is one of our good things that we've seen from personalized learning is that you are knowing what you need to do to get caught up, and you're able to have that time in class when you're back to be able to get caught up. Now looking at the pros and cons of personalized learning, you guys chose from a list of pros or benefits that you had seen, and the top 5 pros that you guys chose were flexible due dates, flexible pace, being able to work in small groups or with a partner. If you miss class, you get the same content and have time to get help on the work you missed, and being able to review material when you need it, like rewatching part of a video, check your work with the key, etc. Some other benefits that some of you listed included that personalized learning helps me understand the lesson better. Whole class rushes me and I can't rewatch to help me understand. And another person wrote that I liked that it was quiet. So those were different benefits that you had seen that I hadn't put on that list that you chose from. Some of the cons that you guys addressed with personalized learning include remembering to do my algebra. And I think part of that is that this year, we don't have many hard copy planners that you guys are writing in. And I think some of that is just us figuring out what are ways that you can make sure you're getting all of your homework done, not just for algebra, but probably for your other classes too. Keeping up with due dates. Someone wrote that flexible due dates made me feel like it's not a priority. And another person wrote that if you're behind, it's hard to get your should do and aspire to do stuff done. And I can see where that can happen when we get behind. Sometimes it's hard to get caught up, but having those due dates on your unit planner should help give you a good guide. And then maybe figuring out a way to write things down and make to-do lists for yourself can be helpful. Focusing on my work seems to be a challenge right here. Being able to stay on task, that there's less structure during class time. And that's true. We are giving you guys more flexibility in many ways, and that includes how you work in class. And so it does require a little more self-discipline to be able to buckle down and get that work done when you're in class. Even if you've watched the video, you can't rewind and get help on just one section. And I'm going to look into that because my understanding was once you finished a video on Edpuzzle that you can rewind to any part that you want. So I will definitely be revisiting this and just making sure that it's working the way I think it should. It's different without a teacher in front of the room, and learning with a video is different. Yeah, anytime we make changes, it's going to feel different, right? And change isn't always easy. But, there's pros and cons to everything. And we're just seeing, are the pros outweighing the cons, and how can we maybe work through some of this stuff? Should do and aspire to do makes for too many little things. And I would agree, at the beginning of the year, I was making too many of them. So we've cut that back. Hopefully, it's down to a manageable level for you. Need more in class time, and we can always be looking at how do we get more of that. Having to be more independent. Um, this is something that some of you guys are seeing as a con to personalized learning, and it's definitely a challenge. But it's also one of those things that we strive for in education, is to help everyone become independent learners. It's hard to become an independent learner if you don't have the chance to practice being independent. So yes, it is definitely a challenge, but remember that it is something that we are working for. And then obviously internet issues, I would completely agree. That has been a frustration this year. So at the end of all that, you guys answered the question, how do you think we should continue through quarter 4? 73% of you, almost 3/4 of you, chose personalized learning, and 27% of you chose traditional whole class learning. So moving forward for the rest of the year, we will continue to do a combination of both, but you'll see that I'm going to try to add in a little bit more of the whole class lessons than we've been doing so far. And I'll show you how that's going to work in a little bit. Here's a brief summary of things that you guys wrote to keep the same when we do personalized learning. Using practice problems, including that flexibility, being able to work with friends, videos, keeping them short, and that's always my goal, having work days, providing the key for the practice problems, list of what we need to get done. I believe our unit planner, usually is that list of what we need to get done, but I can revisit how to make that better. Mastery checks, individual and small group help, a whole class lesson every once in a while. Definitely, I completely agree. Progress tracker, PDF of lessons on Canvas, and a calendar like this last unit. And this is an interesting one, and I will definitely be looking at how can I do that without making it confusing. Here's some things that you guys wrote as improvements to make in personalized learning. Have the class be quieter on work days, and that is something that goes along with having that self-discipline when you're working in class in order to stay focused. Having more hands-on projects, and I agree. I'm always looking, and if you have any ideas, let me know. Allow us to do mastery checks before watching the video. This is an interesting concept that would maybe have to be addressed at the very beginning of an entire unit. And it's something I am definitely thinking about here. Taking away the last question on the videos, and I'll look into maybe how we can change that up here. We've been using that same question for a long time. More in-class time, we talked about that earlier. Go over some practice problems together. Yep, and some of this is up to you guys as far as asking those questions in class too. So we can kind of work together on finding which practice problems we need to review. Making sure we understand. More time for should do work, less Khan Academy. Last 5 minutes of class, ask if there's any questions. Longer due dates, more work days. Make should do, aspire to do bonus. Pauses in the videos. So a couple things I want to address here. As far as pauses in the videos, remember you have a pause button that you're in control of. So definitely use that whenever you need. Making should do and aspire to do bonus. This is something that I've thought a lot about, and I feel that right now with our system of all the must-do work gets you a B for your daily work, and then to really reach that A, which really should be, going above and beyond, not just doing the minimum, that's where the should do and aspire to do come in. More work days, and we'll try to be conscientious of making sure we have enough work time in there. Longer due dates, that kind of goes along with that. Last 5 minutes of class, ask if there's any questions. We can definitely try to incorporate that. Less Khan Academy. What we're requiring right now is already less than 5 minutes per day over the course of the week. So I don't see that coming down, but I am always thinking about how we can best use that. Here's some suggestions you guys had for what we should keep the same when we're doing whole class learning. And again, we will be doing some of both here. So work time at the end of class, and that kind of depends on the lesson. Sometimes you get more than others. Talking to your neighbor about the math, awesome. In-depth discussion about certain problems, how we go through the lesson, the time the lesson takes. Communication is good. Whole class activities, practice problems, keep the random quizzes, and then having the PDF of the lesson on Canvas. And I saw this show up a few times, so I will definitely keep trying to put that PDF on there. Improvements to make in whole class learning. More time at the end. And, I agree, I would love to have more time at the end of whole class lessons. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work as well. Purposefully partner students together. We do a lot of random grouping because usually they're really short, but for longer things, we could definitely look at purposefully partnering. Using more activities, go over practice problems. Sometimes this comes down to time, but if you have questions, definitely ask. More interaction, lack of time for Khan Academy. We do have less time, class time for that with whole class learning. Make it easier for students to ask questions. Don't want to ask in front of the whole class. Leniency on time for homework quizzes. Practice problems only a few times a week. Catch-up days, should do and aspire to do. So a lot of, what we're looking at here is some of that flexibility piece that we get with personalized learning, but then we kind of miss out on when we have whole class learning. Okay, so the big reveal. Here's how we're going to work through the first part of Unit 6. Here is your unit planner. You can see we're going to start with a whole class lesson. Then we're going to have 2 lessons that will lead up to a mastery check. Then a whole class lesson. Then 2 more lessons for a mastery check. And then another whole class lesson. So we're really going to try to get that blended in there to get both the personalized learning and the whole class learning together in the same unit. And we do have 1 Desmos activity for a should do, 1 parabola selfie activity for an aspire to do, which is going to be you taking your own picture and submitting that. And then we'll be reviewing, and then we'll be doing the quiz. And our quiz is looking like it's going to be on Monday, April 12th. This is what the calendar looks like on Canvas. I know it's really small here, but remember, you have both the calendar view and your unit planner view available for you on Canvas. So use that as you guys start jumping into Unit 6 here. And have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome day in class today. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.